What is going on, comic fam? It's your boy, the bearded comic bro, and I am back with comic creator David Hazan. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a good amount of time since you were last on the show. We were just talking backstage. It's been over a year since we've had you on, and man, things have changed.
They certainly have. Yeah, it's Nottingham happened, and we're back, and it's pretty exciting. And there's so much more Nottingham that's coming that I can't wait. I can't wait for people to read it.
I'm so excited because I know it's so funny because last time I remember we were talking, it was before Nottingham was even released. So I think I had read like a preview issue and I'm like, this is fantastic. It was either like it had already hadn't released or pre-orders or like issue one had just dropped. But either way, it was like selling out and it was like, holy cow, this is fantastic. And you're like, I think I've scheduled way too many interviews.
This time I have the opposite problem, where I've just been so distracted that with actually writing that I'm like, look, maybe this time I can just like coast a little bit.
You're like, oh, people know Nottingham now, and Matt Gabe's like, no, you got to get out there and do some publicity for it.
No, nobody is cracking the whip that hard at me. I don't think. I think they're more worried about getting the scripts in than they are.
We just won the book. We don't even care. Like if you that's fine. We'll take care
You
of that.
prefer not to be observed. It's fine.
Well, David, for people that might have missed, our last conversation, rather than make them go through trying to track down where it is and stuff on the YouTube, just give people real quick. How did you get connected with writing comics and writing with Mad Cave?
Well, writing comics kind of happened, and writing with Mad Cave kind of happened both by accident. I was never a big comic reader growing up, partially because I was sort of discouraged from doing so. And it happened on Batwoman from a couple of friends who were like, "You need to start reading this stuff. We're sick of you like talking about adaptations from comics without actually reading the stuff. So go read the stuff." And they handed me Batwoman Elegy. And pretty much ever since then I've been hooked. So that was like 2018, I want to say. I've been hooked on comics. I have an obsessive personality, so I'm like, well, if I'm reading this and enjoying this so much, I want to kind of try to do it. And so I played around with some stuff, and on a whim entered Mad Cave's talent search, won, and here we are. It's kind of funny because like the stuff that I was fiddling around with pre Mad Cave's talent search is now getting made, which is strange to me, but I'm very excited for it. And of course, I can't talk about any of this stuff. Suffice it to say that there's more stuff in the works.
Well, that just means we're gonna have to have you back on again here in a little, whenever stuff comes out. So
happy to join the bearded comic family whenever I can.
Yes. So you did the Mad Cave talent search, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the artist Shane also was a Mad Cave talent search, right? And you were kind of hooked up for this, and you guys came out with putting out Nottingham, and you guys came out guns a-blazing because I know issue one flew off the shelves, and it got rave reviews of that first arc. So for people that if they for some reason haven't heard of Nottingham, what was the first arc, kind of the pitch of Nottingham as we kind of tinker into now the new stuff?
Yep. So the first arc basically places the Sheriff of Nottingham as a protagonist in a medieval police procedural / crime noir, where he's hunting down a serial killer who's murdering the area's tax collectors. And as he does, he kind of sort of butts heads with a bunch of the key sort of power players of the time, including Maid Marian and of course the Merry Men and their leader, who prior to issue 5 is as yet unknown entity who goes by the name Hood.
So good. And gang, if you missed this this first arc, it's in trade. Go pick it up. I don't even want to like go into spoilers with that because like I just want people like if you haven't read, just go read it because holy buckets, it's so stinking good. So when did the then knowledge come to you that you were going to be greenlit to do more in this world?
Probably about the same time I last spoke to you. Yeah, the Mad Cave saw the pre-orders come in for Volume 1, and they were like, let's do another one. And I was happy, Shane was happy, Luca, our colorist, was happy. And yeah, I really have plenty more stories to tell in this world, as you will, I guess, come to realize over the course of this year that there's a lot more stuff there. And yeah, I'm happy to keep telling Nottingham stories as long as people want to read them, and that's that. Like,
Yeah. So you had most of the original team is back. I think what lettering switched up here.
yeah,
Um
yeah.
and with Justin now hopping on with lettering, and that's not, if you're gonna have to switch up the lettering, it's not bad to get Justin on board
No,
because
Justin is fantastic.
just don't worry, he doesn't watch my videos, but don't tell him I said anything nice about him, okay? Like
Yeah.
actually now I'll mention it, like, oh, now he'll actually watch a video because I say his name.
Speak of the devil.
I'm like, listen, like I heard you, bearded. But yeah, so you got the team back, most of the team back. You're back into this world. Did you, when you created this, kind of crafted this idea for Nottingham, when you had the original first arc, did you envision more stories, or then once you were like, this felt like a world that people connected with, that's when it kind of like, okay, I'm going to start to come up with more stories in this world?
The ideas sprung out of my research of the history. This is where I get, like, spoiler alert, but
Go
this
for
is
it.
where I get all my ideas for Nottingham come out of the actual history itself. Um, because I really want to, like, while we do some like strange and wonderful things, I really want to ground it in in context. Um, and so the history is just a wellspring of ideas when it comes to that, because there were a lot of titanic shifts in the political climate, which, you know, makes for telling great stories about people who are in some way affected by the change of the tides, as it were. So yeah, it's all about the history with me, and the more research I did for Volume 1, the more ideas seemed to pop up.
That's so great because this is where I failed history class, so there's no spoiler alerts here at all for me because I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. I'm like, I don't
I
know,
mean,
did that really happen? Like, I'm like, oh, this is cool. So
yeah, I mean, you could do some I guess some googling and try to figure out where I'm going with this, but
I don't want to. No, I don't want to. So well,
you know, I'm encouraging that from everybody who's reading and wants to try and figure it out. I think that's fun. So
I didn't want to study for history class when I was getting a grade. I don't want to do it now. I just want to enjoy the comics.
that's fair. That's fair.
So so obviously you said you dabbled into some, digging into the histories, that kind of, so what's this arc of this, new series that you're, new story that you're telling of Nottingham, kind of about the elevator pitch before this one?
So the big next chapter in the history is that King Richard is kidnapped and held for ransom, which obviously has huge ramifications for our main cast of characters. And I guess there's like a lot of sort of political maneuvering to explain from this first issue to kind of get the premise across. But the idea is that Prince John is kind of strong-armed into at least keeping up the appearance of sending the ransom, which is a huge, obscenely large amount of money, more than the entire kingdom could produce in a year. And so he's kind of strong-armed into sending this obscene amount of money across to the Holy Roman Emperor, who has Richard captive. And so what he does, he sends somebody who would appear impartial to ferry the ransom, and then goes about undermining the transit of the money.
Well, and you have issue 6 goes into a lot of setup of this kind of, like you said, the political scheming that's going on to kind of get us to where you're taking the story, but it's done in such a fascinating way that it really engages with like tracking with, okay, I know where my characters were and now where they're at now moving forward with this new story. That is just it's a fun read for sure.
Yeah, I think that like that first sequence is that's really what I wanted to accomplish in that sort of opening sequence of issue 6, where we're grounding once again where our characters were at the end of issue 5, and then that same conflict that grounds them is the one that pushes them forward into this new status quo. And it's wild because we get some unlikely alliances, um, and some sort of titanic shifts in the power structure back home, while the sheriff and maybe some other characters are off on their adventure. So there's a lot of stuff to unpack in that issue. I feel I don't know how I managed to pack all of that into 22 pages, but it worked. And a huge part of that is just Shane being monstrously talented.
Super talented, and it's been fun to see your writing craft and Shane's artwork, even just come into its own even more so in this next series. Like, to see you both came out the gates, like I said, guns ablazing with this series, and you notice how you're toning into, like you said, trying to get this story that you want to set up in just a handful of pages, panels, to get that going, to then so you can really unpack that. And Shane's art just really highlights that as well. So it's cool to see kind of that growth in the of the little things that you guys are doing to expand on your work, because it really highlights what you guys are doing really well in this series.
Yeah, and I mean Shane even more so than me. You just look at his art, and he's just constantly leveling up. It's like it was great before, but
Right.
like now, um, just insane.
Yeah, I always hate to be like, oh, like it's stepping up from where it was, because like where it was not bad, obviously, as you saw with the sales of the first arc. Like, it was, what you guys brought to the table was really good. So like, and no way I'm sliding, like, but it's a leveling up that is taking it to just where it needs to go, because it can go. And I think it's and the colors are popping on it. Luca's colors are fantastic. Like, I mean, well done all around. What was it like then for you in this process now? So you got Nottingham under your belt, and then as soon as they saw the pre-orders, like, hey, let's go through, do this, let's dig into this world more. How did the process for you change a little bit now, from when you first started to write this series, or was it kind of the same mindset for you?
I think like there was a bit more. I guess not that Mad Cave didn't originally trust me, because they did, because they asked for something from me rather than giving me something to do
Right.
in the first place. So there was a lot of trust, but I think there was a lot more sort of implicit trust when it came to like my take on things and what I wanted to do. And it kind of, when you have like as much success as we did, you know, you get to take a few more risks. So um, people will kind of understand from the pitch of this new volume that there's a tonal change, really, because it's not just the sort of hard-boiled crime noir thing that we're doing. There's also an adventure aspect. There's things that are not sort of detective fiction that we're weaving into. And that's not to say that there weren't those things in the last volume, but I think those things take more of a backseat to the overall arc than they did previously. Um, and I was like, look, this is what I'm getting at. There will be, because if you would have read issue 7, there are detective stories that weave into this big adventure, and in a really fun way, I think. Um, but it's sort of we're infusing more different genres. It's got a bit like there's a little bit of a Western feel to it. There's a little bit of like an adventure feel to it. And I guess the big subplot back in Nottingham is sort of a traditional like tragic crime noir story is how I'd put it.
Yeah, it's a great way. Yeah. So, and so by the time this is coming out, issue 7 will, I think, be in shops, and I think even the free comic book day comic. But
Oh yeah,
I got to
we
check
haven't talked about that yet.
how let's talk about that. How cool is that? Because like free comic book day is I don't know, like over where you're at, how big it is, but like it's big over here. Like we do, it's like a scavenger. Like it's on our family calendar of, it's like, all right, we're going to, it's free comic book day here, and it's kind of like a scavenger hunt. Like we'll buy some comics at one store and to get our free, like, because that's we always gotta, we go to a store, we want to buy something, and get the free comics then too. But it's a scavenger hunt, so it's a big deal. So like to have one of your books, be a free comic book day exclusive has got to be cool.
Yeah. I basically whenever I get emails from Mad Cave, it's usually I wake up to them because I'm on the wrong side of the world, and nearly fell out of bed with this one. It was so exciting, and they were like, we need kind of like something pretty soon, and I was like, okay, let's see what I can do. Um, Sadly, although not really sadly for the reader, because they get somebody else's take on some of our characters, which is fun. And Andrea Moody, who did the art on this issue, is obviously phenomenal, and I'll get into that. But I went to Shane and I said to him, what do you want to draw? Because I got this opportunity to do this one shot. I want to really, I want you to have fun with it. And he was like, yeah, man, like set it in the snow. I was like, okay, done. It's going to be a Christmas story. Because who doesn't like Christmas in May, apparently?
Right? It works.
And so I went and wrote this thing, and then we get this email from Mad Cave being like, Shane won't have time to do this because we need to move volume 2 up from November to April. And I was like, well, okay. I was like, you guys enjoy that. And then me and Chris Fernandez, Mad Cave's publisher, kind of sent each other emails at the same time being like, we want Andrea to do this. And that sort of like brain connection seemed to work out. And then I wrote this story because I wanted it to kind of bring you the core elements of Nottingham. So I wanted Robin to be at least a little bit a part of it. I wanted it to be a detective story, and I wanted it to be real sad. And I think I hit the nail on the head. And then Andrea comes in, fully realized cover, 22 pages of pencils in about 2 seconds. Now I've like 2 weeks, and that was like, I could see what the book was going to look like. And the man is just a machine. Like, you can tell why he gets so much work and why people love it so much,
Right.
is just the sheer amount of talent, plus just the professionalism. And you get, like, whenever I get a page in my inbox, it'd be like, wow, or like there'd just be like some sort of like really fun little exclamation that would go along with the page. It was such a fun experience to get to work with him, and I've been a huge fan of his since Infinite Dark. And yeah, it's just like the whole Free Comic Book Day experience was super fun, and I'm excited for people to get the chance to read it.
Yeah, it's so cool to, like I said, it's a family event at our household. So like to pick up a book, oh, like, hey, daddy, talk to this person. You can't read that book.
No,
You're not allowed to read
no.
it. But
Yeah, I had my first signing the other day, and it was interesting to see people sort of like saddle up with their kids, and I'm like, this is maybe a Robin Hood story, but it is not for children.
this is not the Disney one with the fox.
No.
Yeah, I can imagine they'd be like, oh, my kid loves this book. Like, I don't think he should.
I'm not going to make any comment on your parenting as somebody who does not have children, but
I will. It's all right. JK, it's one of those things I've said stuff like all the time, like before I had kids, like, I'll never do that. And then it's like, I did exactly that. So I'm sure parents are like, oh yeah, waiting 2 years when your kid wants to read Nottingham, when it's on the 4th volume, 5th volume, like 6th volume, whatever it's at then.
Oh my God.
So but because I hope we continue this world through and through, because it's just been a lot of fun. It's to the characters you create. I remember we talked about it in the first time we sat down, that you're able to take characters that we're already familiar with by in basis of knowing, we know Robin Hood, we know Sheriff of Nottingham. So we kind of have these, own opinions of them already, and we know some of the back history, but you flipped it a lot. And it's been really fun to just see like where I think I know where it should go or where I think it's going to go. And I'm like, oh, this is fun. So it's been a really cool world to see and you create. And I mean, it seems like there's so many possibilities of where you can take this world that you've developed.
Yeah, I think that was like the initially part of the fun for me was trying to mess with people's perception as much as possible. But now that we've hit the new arc, everybody kind of knows what the status quo is, and so I thought I'd shake things up in a different way by pairing different characters with each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a great time. I had so much fun writing it, and seeing the art come in was just, and I'm really excited for people to get to the pointy end of it, because there's so much happens, so much more happens, because volume 1 was we spent so much time setting up the world, and it didn't really give us as much space that we have now to like do some crazy stuff. I mean, like the book's called Nottingham, and we're sending half of our cast to Rome. So I'm having a blast with it, and I hope people love it, even though it's like gonna be a little different.
Yeah. Well, so far I'm 100% on board. And I say so far, like there's any chance that I'm not going to still be on board here. The next, is this a 5-issue kind of story as well as the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a 5-issue story.
And so that's coming, I think issue 8 is coming out in June, if memories are, it's monthly now, right? For these 5. Okay.
Yeah. It's monthly, and then we'll see what happens next.
So
until issue 10.
That's right. Well, and hopefully it'll be like, well, I know that we're gonna have more in this world. I just can't talk to you about it like you did last time with this volume. So it'll be fun to see.
Yeah, there's definitely more stuff. Some of it will be completely unexpected and really fun. And I can't wait for that to get announced. Also, I should probably say that you can order a hardcover too if you want that. Some people love these things, so you can order a hardcover off Mad Cave's website, and both me and Shane have signed book plates for them. And I think they also come with a black and white version of the first issue. So definitely check those out if you're a collector and you love that kind of thing, because Mad Cave has done a pretty fantastic job of making sure that the collectors get what they love out of this book too. So
That's so cool.
hardcover.
Well, I love, how Mad Cave is, they're there for the reader, but they're also there for the collector aspect of it. And, I like both. I love those hardcovers, but like then I feel like I'm so like can I open this? I don't know if I can. I'm like, give me a trade paperback that I can open it up and not. But like some of these like the hardcovers, I'm like they're so beautiful. I'm like I'm gonna break it. But I mean, you're talking about that black and white
Yeah,
issue.
yeah.
Whew, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, and I think we had originally floated the idea like a year ago of doing a black and white version of issue one as some sort of special release, and clearly they've taken that to heart, but have just decided that the finances make more sense to do it this way.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Like as somebody who has seen all of the inks, Shane's inks are really strong, and don't get me wrong, Luca's fantastic colors, but I think a lot of people will be able to see that from the cover A and cover B
Right.
on volume 2. Uh, Shane's inks are so strong and so fun that you're pretty close to not really needing colors with his work. And I'm excited for people
Yeah.
to
Well,
see
and
that.
is cover A, is that the what I have behind me? Is that the
Yeah, so that's the cover A. The cover B is literally the same thing, but without the color.
that sounds well? And what's so cool about these covers is like how they look all connecting. They look so. Seeing 6 and 7, I saw the cover of 8 in the back of issue 7. Like it looks so good, and you're just man,
Oh man,
you got
wait
to be,
until
you
you
got to have
see.
fun with that.
Like clearly Shane is having fun because it comes out in the art, but
Yeah,
um, yeah, I just kind of let him. He just went nuts with this. I didn't really say anything. I'm just like, do what you want. He asked me some questions about like what the little messages that he wanted to translate into Latin should say, and I'm like, here you go have fun. And what he came back with was this like weird hybridization of like character covers, but with this Norman tapestry thing going on the bottom, and then Luca for some reason made them neon, and I'm like, oh, this is really great, like unexpectedly interesting way to do this.
yeah.
And yeah, I have the privilege of just mashing a keyboard for a bit and then getting to see what happens. That's the best place to be.
Right. It's got to be so cool though too. Like as you're like, all right, here I write this, and then like you just get to sit back and see this, stuff that you help, you create, that then see like their vision of what what you put out there into the world, to see their take on it. It's got to be cool to kind of see that process coming back as it's all coming together for you.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Ever since that first cover that Shane drew, um, which is on the trade and the first printing of issue
Mhm.
one, um, just like just been a great ride to see what he does with with what I put on the page. So
Yeah, it's you all work so well together, and you can tell that it just complements, and it's got to be cool to have kind of this rhythm. I feel like you probably are now in a rhythm as a team of like, okay, here's what we expect, here's what we did, and and here's where we're going to take it. And the kind of freedom and trust, like you said, like you have a lot more with Mad Cave. I'm sure the team has a lot more freedom and trust with each other too.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I barely run my eyes over Shane's layouts now. I'm like, I don't need to see this. Apart from just to make sure that all the story stuff that I want is in there, and then, I may be given like maybe between 1 and 3 notes on his layouts over the entire course of Volume 2. Like, it wasn't really much.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's fun to see, like, because I didn't see as much last time of Luca and Shane interacting, because Luca came on a bit later, and kind of Mad Cave were trying to get the colors done, so that obviously when it came time to do this, I could see them interacting, and like Shane's drawing color guides for some of the pages that are a bit complicated, because like just an immense amount of detail he puts into these pages, um, and it's just fun to see like the whole team interacting on a different level, and it's like it's just great to see.
Yeah. Well, I could stay here and talk to you all night, all morning, depends on what part of the world you want to say either one of us are in at this time. But what I hesitate to ask, because I'm sure you have a lot of things going on, but is there anything else, or is your focus right now Nottingham, or is there anything else that you're kind of working on?
There are other things, all of them unannounced. So I got another thing with Mad Cave that I'm working on. I got um, the mysterious more Nottingham stuff, which I expect will be announced later in the year. And yeah, I got stuff going on at Scout. I got stuff going on at Aftershock, which I'm pretty excited for, but I can't really go into too much detail just yet.
Hey, that and it's a token response that I understand, because the way comics work is you be working on something for a year before it can be announced and you can be talked about. So I get that completely. Just to hear though, like just even like the different projects, different publishers, like I'm excited for you, because I have just in this short time of reading your work, I've become a huge fan of your writing, David, and I can't wait for more journeys that you take us on as comic readers.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, before I let you go, I've been wondering, because Nottingham has such an eclectic world that you've created. If there was some piece of equipment that you, or weapon or clothing that you could have in real life from Nottingham, like as a prop replica, what would you want to have like as a display right there, like on your, as you're doing interviews?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I can't. I don't want to. I feel like if I answer this, it'll be a spoiler. So, there's a particular. You clearly. I think you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
But there's a particular item that appears in issue 7, which becomes one of some significance over the course of volume 2, which is really cool and really iconic, but isn't just a giant sword that's going to be on the back wall, because I think that's the like Ev's sword is kind of the default answer, but I feel like the other thing is more interesting. so
No, I love that answer, because now it's a scavenger hunt. So whether you've watched this video before issue 7 came out or after you've read issue 7, now you can go back and either like, what was it? And like, it's a mystery hunt now. And so anyone that watched this interview and reads issue 7, they'll be like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. See, I'm finding craftier ways to try and get you to spoil things for me. No,
I mean, like I definitely I've tried as much as I can to spoil like what I can, and the answer is like I'm working with some new publishers. Like
right.
I can't. That's the like hard limit of what I can say
Well,
without getting myself into trouble.
absolutely understand that. So, well, David, if people, this is our first time checking in, listening to us talk on, YouTube or listening via the podcast, where can people follow you and kind of see what you got going on and maybe catch up on what some of these things, hopefully, as they start to get announced, I'm sure you'll be sharing it. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is www.davidhazan.com. I am on Twitter and Instagram as David T. Hazan. So follow me there if you'd like. Twitter is probably the best place to keep up with what I'm doing because I'm on there a lot, more than I should be. But hey, it's comics,
right.
and I like tweeting. I like getting excited about comics on the internet. So that's where I'm at.
Nice. Well, again, thank you so much just for taking some time out of your busy schedule to talk about comic books with me. I'm excited, like I said, to see where we go from here. I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon as more things start to come out. But again, guys, go support Nottingham. Check it out. If you missed out on the first trade, pick up the trade. Go get the volumes. Pre-order them. Get them in your pull list, in your pull box, whatever, and check out that hardcover from Mad Cave Studios, because I know I'm doing that as soon as it's over. I'm like, I want to see what that is. Like, that's so cool. So, but just go support great comics, people. So,
Yeah,
but,
and free comic book day. Don't forget
yes.
about
Oh
that.
yeah, free comic book day. Yes, yes. Go get it. Go get it. So, with that being said, gang, hopefully you can find some time to curl up, grab a book, and nerd out. Peace.